What's up everyone, Jeremy Try here. Today I wanted to make a video on why I chose the Canon SL2 DSLR camera over the Canon G7X Mark II camera for vlogging. I had a really tough time choosing between these two cameras. This video is just going to go over the general pros and cons of each of the cameras. If you're looking for a video that's going to go into the technical specifications of each of the cameras, this is not the video for that. There are tons of videos out there for those purposes. This is just for me to express why I chose the Canon SL2 over the G7X Mark II. So hopefully you don't have to go through the pain and agony when trying to decide between these two wonderful cameras. Alright, so let's get into it. The G7X Mark II Pros. It's the vlogger's camera. It started off as a G7X, and the latest edition is the G7X Mark II, and tons of vloggers out there use the camera, and the quality is undeniable. It produces some pretty good stuff. One of the biggest selling points on the G7X Mark II is its form factor. This is my iPhone. I don't have a G7X Mark II, but I think the size is just about the size of an iPhone, or maybe even smaller. But form factor is really crucial with that camera, and a lot of people like that because, you know, if you're going out in public and vlogging, you don't have like a giant, you know, DSLR with you like this. You can kind of be discreet, like, hey, what's up? I'm eating spaghetti right now at Olive Garden. You know, you could be a little more subtle. You could be a little more subtle and not really attract a lot of attention on you with the G7X Mark II because it's so small. Another thing that I really liked about the G7X Mark II is that it has image stabilization. I remember seeing one YouTuber do a review on the G7X Mark II where he actually was showing footage that the camera produced. He was riding a skateboard and would get on and would get off really abruptly, and the camera, the G7X Mark II footage was just really smooth, and it wasn't really jagged, so viewers wouldn't really get dizzy when you're moving out and about and moving a lot because the image stabilization was really good. Alright, Canon SL2 Pros. The Canon SL2 is one of the smallest, if not the smallest, DSLR in the Canon DSLR lineup. I wish you could see it right now, but my palm, the body of the Canon SL2 is just about as big as my palm, iPhone for scale. So no, the Canon SL2 is not as small as the G7X Mark II, but it is a lot smaller than several other DSLRs out there. So yeah, sure, you're gonna have a DSLR on here, but it's not big and bulky like other DSLRs. Of course, good audio is highly recommended when you vlog, and the Canon SL2 has a nice shoe mount on top, so you can hook an external microphone. Right now I have a Rode Video Micro Go microphone on the shoe mount for my audio. Also, the Canon SL2, of course, can take much better pictures than the G7X Mark II. One thing that I also didn't realize while shopping for the cameras is that the Canon SL2 is actually cheaper than the G7X Mark II. At the time of this recording, the Canon SL2 is $599 and the Canon G7X Mark II is $649. So the Canon SL2, you can get better pictures, you can put on an external microphone for better audio, and it's a cheaper camera. Pretty much with the G7X Mark II, you're paying for that small, sleek form factor. So some of the mixed feelings that I had when trying to choose between these two cameras was that with the G7X Mark II, as I mentioned before, I really wanted that image stabilization, and I'm very active. I really like the idea of being able to whip out the G7X Mark II and just start vlogging right there, super active, jumping here and there on my bike or running, and just have the camera there, having a nice, smooth, image stabilized, compact camera to capture quick footage. Of course, with the Canon SL2, it'll be a little bit harder to be super active because of the body of the camera. Also, if I bought the Canon SL2, I felt that I would be inclined to buy an external microphone, to buy an extra lens, say a wide angle lens, to buy a camera bag for the DSLR camera. These costs add up, and combined, you're gonna be spending a lot more money on your Canon SL2 vlogging setup, whereas if you just bought the G7X Mark II, you just have one price pretty much. So essentially I'd be spending a lot more money on the Canon SL2 because I'd want to get, you know, a really good setup, whereas if I purchase the Canon G7X Mark II, I just get the camera. My thoughts were I can go with the G7X Mark II, and if my YouTube channel takes off a little bit more, then I can spend the extra money to go with a DSLR setup. Alright, so you can see that I was totally conflicted on which camera should I get. But my final thoughts were this. I thought about the future and a little bit about the past. My dad was a professional photographer in the Philippines back in the day, and today photography is one of his hobbies. Growing up, he always had his camera with him, and he would always let us take the camera and teach us how to shoot, teach us when shooting, what's good composition. So I knew that one day I was gonna get really into photography like him. And I thought, why wait any longer? Now is the time. If I bought the Canon SL2, I knew that I could really scale up my photography and videography, take a lot better photos and videos. Whereas if I just had the G7X Mark II, what you have is pretty much what you get. Audio, of course, is super important when vlogging, and another pro of the Canon SL2 was that, of course, as I mentioned before, you can just throw on an external microphone onto the camera, boom, instant audio gains on your vlogs. Whereas on the Canon SL2, it has an internal microphone and you cannot hook up an external microphone for better audio on that camera. So in summary, I went with the Canon SL2 because I can always scale up my photography, scale up my videography by using better lenses on the camera, by using better external audio attached to the camera, and by tweaking and having more control over the settings of the camera in general, rather than the G7X Mark II, which is just the G7X Mark II and will always just be the G7X Mark II until there's a G7X Mark III. Still, the G7X Mark II is a remarkable camera. I'd say if you have the money, get both. But if you're like me and you really want to up your game in photography and videography, the Canon SL2 is the choice for you. So when deciding between these two great cameras, it really depends on you. Which camera do you prefer? Let me know in the comments below. I hope this video was of value to you. If you liked it or enjoyed it, please hit that like button below. Subscribe to my channel for more videos like this, and I'll catch you later. Peace.